one series closed out as the Tampa Bay Lightning win four in 5 games, 4-1 over the Detroit Red Wings. The only game the Red Wings won was Game 3 at home. They won that game 2-0. Otherwise, it went 3-2, 5-2, 3-2, 1-0. So all close games except for Game 2 and kind of sort of Game 3. The number one seed out there that everyone's keeping a big eye on, at least I am, up 3-1 over the Flyers would be the Washington Capitals. They were by far the best team in hockey this year. They won the first game 2-0, second game 4-1, third game 6-1. Jesus, crushing them those first 3 games. Philly scratched and clawed their way to a 2-1 victory last night on April 20th to keep the series alive. However, look for that to close out on the 22nd in Washington. That's a 6 o'clock Eastern time start for that game. In the other two Eastern Conference matchups, we have the Penguins leading 3-1 over the Rangers. They went up 5-2. Then the Rangers came back and tied it up, winning 4-2. Then Pittsburgh won 3-1, and Pittsburgh won 5-0. So none of those games have been close. Pittsburgh winning 3 out of the 4. Look for them to close that series soon. Boy, I picked Pittsburgh, I picked Washington, I picked Tampa. And then, all right, in our final Eastern series, we've got number 1 seed Panthers, number 2 overall in the East. But they're still considered a 1 seed because they won their division. Going up against the top wild card, the New York Islanders. I predicted the Islanders to pull off the upset. So far, looking like that might happen. Got a good chance. Series is tied at 2 games apiece. Islanders won the first game in Florida 5-4. Florida won the next game at home 3-1. Then New York won the next game at home in overtime 4-3, and then Florida won the next game 2-1. So we got a heck of a series there as well. Hockey playoffs are great so far. Tune in if you're not watching, and hopefully the Wild can at least muster up one more win so that the home crowd here in Minnesota can have one final chance to go see and cheer their team on before this season's done. Maybe they'll get 2 wins even and lose it in 7 now. So, you never know. Maybe they'll come back, rip off 3 straight. Torchetti's team has done that multiple times in this season. They've gotten on those runs, so it ain't done yet. Keep believing, keep hope alive, Wild fans, even though, you should also be making your plans to dive into the Twins' disappointing season here soon as well. All right, getting off balls on ice. Where are we going to go? Well, I'll tell you what, let's cross PGA off the list, but let's throw in a NASCAR quickie for good measure, huh? The last weekend on April 17th, Carl Edwards picked up his 26th win of his NASCAR career, first of this year, by winning at Bristol. That's a fairly famous racetrack in the racing world. So congratulations, Mr. Carl Edwards, on your recent win at Bristol. Boom, NASCAR quickie. Cross off the list. All right. Where to go now? Let's go Twins baseball, huh? Well, I just checked, and the Twins finished off the victory in Milwaukee this evening 8-1, an offensive explosion. Too bad they couldn't save some of those runs for the next game or an upcoming game at some point here in the future. But it's nice to see within the last week or so since we, talked sports last, that the Twins bats are coming around. Bunghole Park, I just love to call him, even though he's not a bunghole. It's just, you know what I mean. His name just sounds like it. I can't help it. I grew up in the 90s. I love Beavis and Butthead. So Bunghole Park is at like 3 or 4 home runs now. However, with the interleague play that we're doing, he has found himself on the bench, being forced to play under National League rules. For some reason, we can't, give him an opportunity to go play first, which it says is his position. We won't throw him out there for whatever reason, even though Sano is just god-awful in right field, and Joe Mauer makes 100 million times more sense in right field than Sano does. And Mauer makes... Have you seen Mauer's arm? Like, Mauer makes more sense at third base than he does at first base as well. I don't understand why people are playing where they're at on this team. I thought that was actually going to improve here when Trevor Plouffe went out with an injury, because he's kind of been that guy that sucked that up, when he re-signed. And for the record, when we re-signed Plouffe, I like Plouffe. He's consistent. He's a veteran. Like, he's decent. I like Plouffe. Good guy. but there's no spot on this team for him. Every position that guy can play, we've already got someone else younger, better, more highly paid, to play there. So my hope is yet that Plouffe is trade bait, that we use Plouffe to successfully trade for pitching at some point in the season. That's what I'm hoping. Not that I want to get rid of Plouffe because I don't like him. I hope I stress that enough. I like Plouffe. He can't contribute to this team the way that it's put together, the way that we're paying him to. So it doesn't make sense to keep him on. Trade that guy for some pitching, but he's injured right now. Currently, Arcia getting a lot of play, Polanco getting some play, Nunez. So some names that we weren't fully prepared to be this involved with the Twins thus far. Buxton struggling at the plate, no big shocks there. Sano struggling in the field, starting to kind of turn it around at the plate a little bit. What else we got? Like I said, Bunghole Park finally starting to. He's hitting fairly good, so that's nice. Brian Dozier hitting terrible. Man, that'd be nice if he turned that around sometime. But Joe Mauer resurgent, playing great. Gotta wonder if maybe the concussion symptoms and repercussions weren't still playing a factor in his struggles last year yet, and now maybe he's fully recovered from that and seeing the ball the way he used to and the way he should and is capable of, and hopefully we get a batting 500 Joe Mauer for the entire season. I want to say he's somewhere around like 360-ish, somewhere in there. At least last I checked, he was around 360 on the season. So that's really good as well. Pitching still just mediocre. This team is going to have to win games with its bats, and they're capable of doing that. They just got to do that. But in the process, they've got to not. There's no room with the pitching for defensive errors. The defense needs to help the pitching out. Our pitching is good enough to win games, but it's not good enough to win games on their own. And so the defense and the hitting need to help out. And defensively, in my opinion, that's kind of the big talker here in Minnesota right now is what's the biggest problem for the Twins? What are they worst at? Defense, pitching, or hitting? And in my opinion, it's without a question become defense. And this is just a year removed from being defensively spectacular across the board. Now we have defensive liabilities in a few places on the field that are costing us runs and have cost us games when you do the math. So I don't know. There's no need to get too alarmed because it's a long 162 game season. We're very, very early into it. But man, you can't help but wonder, and it's not from a managerial standpoint, it's from a higher up than that standpoint. You can't help but wonder, as a Twins fan, just about the way this team is run, who really calls the shots, and what interest and qualifications and knowledge they really have. I don't know. That's kind of where I stand on the Twins right now. Taking a quick look around the league, Jake Arrieta, pitcher for the Cubs, threw a no-no. It's like his third in his last 20 starts or something. I threw a crazy post on Facebook here earlier today. Check it out, Scotty Dashball. In his last 20 starts, he's got like 3 no-nos and an ERA under .86 and has only lost 1 game. And it's insane. Absolutely insane. So, way to go, Arrieta. And let's maybe segue that over into just a peek at the standings, since the Cubbies are a World Series favorite and off to a good start. And in fact, they are off to the best start in baseball at 12-4. In their division, they're followed by the Cardinals at 8-7, surprising Reds at 8-8, Pirates at 8-8, Brewers at 7-9. A lot of 500 ball there. Kind of surprising me with the Reds and the Brewers a little bit. Then let's see. The second best record in all of baseball, as well as the National League, belongs to the Nationals. Way to turn it around. Maybe the new manager is going to work out this year. They're 11-4, and Bryce Harper is, without question, he's the best player in the National League and possibly the best player in all of baseball, and likely will be for the next 10 years or more. I heard an insane proposition that's actually not insane at all the other day. It was, pardon the interruption, on ESPN, Tony Kornheiser suggested that the Nationals, at their earliest opportunity, offer Bryce Harper a 10-year, $400 million contract to keep him there, or he will be wearing pinstripes and making them regret that for the rest of their franchise life. But yeah, he's just, man, he's something to watch. He is a superstar on the baseball field, and the sport of baseball and Major League Baseball as a business greatly need his contributions, and they don't appreciate it enough, but they will one of these days. Trailing the Nats in the East at 7-7 are the Mets, 7-9 are the Phillies, not too bad. Marlins 5-9, and Braves 4-11, they stink. And then out in the West, we got the Dodgers at 10-6, the Rockies at 8-7, the Diamondbacks at 9-8, Giants, my frickin' NL representative in the World Series pick, 3 games under 500 at 7-10, and the Padres are 6-10. In the Central, for the record, the Twins are 5-11. Not the worst league in all of baseball. That belongs to the Braves at 4-11. So we got that going for us. We trail the Indians at 6-7, the Tigers at 8-6, the White Sox at 10-6, and the Royals at 10-5. Looking out west, we've got the Rangers at 10-6, the A's at 9-7. That's a little surprising. We got the Mariners 7-8, the Angels of Anaheim. Why doesn't it just say the Angels? At 7, that must be a new thing. We'll get into that next week at 7-9, and then the Astros at 5-11. So very surprised the Astros are struggling that mightily. Then out east, we've got the Orioles at 10-4, the Blue Jays at 8-9, Rays at 7-8, Red Sox at 7-8, and the Yankees at 5-9. All right, done with baseball talk. Moving on to a quick little bit of football. So we'll start with just a tiny bit of Vikings news. The Vikings re-signed fullback Zach Lyon. I want to say it was just to a one-year deal. Don't be surprised if he gets cut. He'll probably might make the team. I said that last year too. But anyway, they re-signed him, as they've been re-signing the majority of their free agents this offseason, as GM Spielman loves to do most years. As far as the draft upcoming next week goes, everybody's expecting wide receiver. Some people are still talking offensive lineman. I think that's really the only other position that they could possibly go with. But let me clarify things for you. This Cody Whitehair guy, Ryan Kelly, all these people, none of them will be taken by the Vikings. The only people with a chance to be taken by the Vikings with their first pick is a left tackle. It's the only spot open remotely on this offensive line. A backup to Matt Khalil for next year, and an heir apparent to him if we choose not to re-sign him after the final year of his contract is up this coming season. That's the only spot available. So if someone like left tackle Taylor Decker or Jack Conklin, who will be long gone, Decker will be gone too, long gone by that time. Decker will not fall farther than 20th to the Jets. You have my word. No. Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll have to recheck my thing. You'll get that next week, actually. But unless one of those top 4 surefire tackles are there, which they won't be, Vikes aren't taking an alignment. They would be reaching on anyone other than the top 4. There's a drop-off from Decker to the next tier of tackle prospects in this draft. Be a big reach, not anybody that would, have any expectation to help you compete for a Super Bowl this coming season, which is the goal, I feel, on everyone's list. At least it should be in the Vikings organization. So do not expect anything but a wide receiver with their first pick. That being said, if there is a potential franchise left tackle that has surprisingly fallen and is still available, that would be the only way the Vikings don't go wide receiver. So speaking of the draft, let's get to the big draft news. Now, the first overall pick in the draft was traded. It was held by the Tennessee Titans. They traded it to the St. Louis Rams, who were the 15th pick. A crazy big jump. Generally, you never see that big of a jump. It was widely believed that the Titans were going to take left tackle Laramie Tunsil with the first pick. I never bought that for a second. I thought they were defense all the way, and I also felt that if they wanted to go the tackle route, why pick that tackle there? Like, you've already got a first round left tackle from 2 drafts ago. 2 freaking drafts ago. That's pretty good in Taylor Lamont from Michigan. So if you want to get that other tackle, or maybe move Luwan back to right, but you don't need to. It's not a necessity. You got the number one pick. You can